the next topic, and this is going to be presented by a colleague who is also in the DBA program like me, and had the pleasure of taking 2 courses along with him. And it's no other person than Mr. Preston Rowley. He's going to be presenting on the topic caption, implementing lean management. And so without wasting time, I will yield the floor to Mr. Preston. Preston, please.
All right. Thank you, John. Good seeing you again. All right. So, hopefully my screen's showing. So the topic I've been researching is the lean management. When you think of lean management, some people think of statistics. Some people think of taking a process and making it smaller. Lean management is a process of pretty much taking care of your customers. So,
sorry, Preston, are you going to be showing slide?
Oh, is it not showing? Sorry.
Not showing it. Sorry about that.
Oh, all right. Here, let me try to maybe. All right. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll continue without the slide. We'll go from there. I'm not sure what's going on my side, but so lean management. It is a customer-focused process improvement. It's pretty much a waste elimination. It is a way to better use time, human resources, assets, and productivity. You want to use it to improve your quality of your products and services. So we'll start with a quick little history lesson on it. The Scientific Management Foundations started with Frederick Taylor back in the early 1900s. He used science for the engineering of processes and passed it on to the management staff. Today, we still use some of his concepts such as analysts, efficiency and elimination of waste, standardization, and then turning craft production into a mass production. Assembly lines is a good example of that. And Henry Ford, the creator of Ford automobiles, took lean manufacturing and turned it into a world business practice. And then Toyota came along and benchmarked his process. And that is one of the main philosophies that we learn today. So to be a lean company, your primary focus would be the elimination of waste. There are 8 types of waste: transport, inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, and then non-utilized talent or skills of people. So we'll kind of go down the 8 waste elimination, kind of give a quick example. When you have one, all of them seem to kind of get involved. And so the process is always continuously improving to eliminate that waste, to create a lean process. So transport could be the movement of people, tools, inventory, equipment, or products further or more than needed. To avoid this, you want to avoid the double or triple handling of equipment, and to design work close to next operations and create a flow of processes. So inventory is the next waste, and everyone thinks inventory is a necessity to an extent. When it becomes a waste, means they're inefficient use of capital. And then you start getting defects and damages within the inventory that is harder to locate because of the excessive inventory. Lead times become greater, and then over purchasing, over processing, and then making more than what is in demand. And then it becomes harder to get ahead of everything because now you just got a lot of equipment in one spot. So to avoid this, You only want to receive raw material when it is needed and only the amount needed. Reduce the number of buffers between production steps. Maintain a queue system to prevent overproduction. Motion is the third waste, and it's similar to transportation. It is unneeded movement of people, equipment, or machines. For people, walking, lifting, reaching, ergodynamics, and then it becomes a safety issue at that point. Examples are searching for inventory, repetitive movements with no added value to the finished product, walking to find tools and materials, and then having to readjust materials after they have been installed. So to fix this, you want to create an organized workspace, equipment near production areas, and then creating the work process for the people is a ergodynamic positioning to reduce the wear and tear on the employee. Number 4 waste is waiting. And that is described as people waiting on materials, equipment not in use or waiting to use equipment. And then causes for waiting are uneven production times in work areas, causing more waste, such as inventory and overproduction. And then to fix this problem, you want to design a work environment of continuous flow or a single piece flow. Level work with standardized work, train and develop multi-skilled workers who can change and adjust at the work changes. Next waste is overproduction. This happens when more work is created before it is needed. It is a common problem to make more products when equipment or workers have nothing to do. The just in case way of working creates more waste than a machine or employee currently just standing around waiting. So creating a just-in-time philosophy is embedded within the lean culture for this reason, to eliminate waste such as overproduction. So you have a push and pull system. When you use the push production system over the lean production system, you create a higher batch size, causing problems such as workflow disruptions, excessive inventory defects, and then the waste this continues to add up. Defects, work in progress or inventory, excessive lean times, it becomes a large problem at that point. To fix this, there were 3 problem-solving measures. The use of takt time. This is the flow rate between each operation, and it makes them all similar to time. So when one process is done, it goes to the next, just as that process is done, going to the next process. When you perfect that system, everything is going in a straight line. The second is reduced setup time for small batches or single piece flow. And then you want to create a Kanban system. This will be your third problem solved. This is the use of the pull production system. This controls the amount of work in progress. And a good example is if you think of a work location that uses screws to install a panel on a part. Let's say this tub holds 100 screws. On the shelf, there should only be 2 tubs, one in the front, the other in the back. When the first tub is empty, it is removed from the shelf and placed where a stock handler is able to take it to be refilled. The station has a second tub to use while the first tub is being filled. Once filled, it is placed in back of the line, and now the second tub will be in the back. So it'll just be continuously moving in and out and not running out of stock. You don't need the excessive amount of inventory behind it. You just have the one and then the backup. So overprocessing is the 6th waste. And this is defined as doing more work than is needed and not creating added value to the product. So using components that are beyond what are needed, overanalyzing and engineering, and excessive functions. You want to design your processes around what the customer wants and what they're expecting. You don't want to put fancy lasers on a car that are not needed. So to fix this problem, make sure your quality and expectations are where the customer needs it and eliminate the non-value added steps. Defects are probably one of the largest problems that companies see and is one of the wastes that we're going to speak about. And it results in rework or worst of all, scrap. It is additional costs and it eliminates the value in the end. To fix it, you want to find where the defects are coming from and focus on the root cause of these defects. Design processes to detect defects and don't pass them to production. Redesign the process to eliminate defects. Standardize work to keep consistency to stay defect free. And then non-utilized talents or skills of people is common in a lot of companies where the separating roles of management from employees. You want to engage the frontline workers to help improve the processes, since they are the ones that are on the front line and handling the product every day. They will know when a process is causing more waste and where it could be changed. So management and frontline employees, if they collaborate together, they will be able to set up a lean process. And then if you engage employees, they don't stay on the autopilot mindset. You want to challenge them and get them involved. So the lean management is taken from a Toyota production system, or TPS. It is implement of a long-term philosophy where short-term financial goals are sometimes sacrificed for long-term success. You work to create a continuous flow which bring production problems into view. You want to avoid overproduction with pull systems, such as we talked about with the Kanban system. Level the workload to prevent burnout. This is referred to as hijunka, or work like a tortoise, not like a hare. Build a positive company culture that assists the company with fixing problems as soon as they occur. This will help create quality product from the first time around, instead of defect after defect just to get the product out. Standardize workplace tasks to give employees a reliable job method. Use visual tools to indicate special procedures, warn employees of dangerous conditions, and to create a more organized workspace. Only use tested technology. Teach leaders to live and pass on the TPS philosophy. Lean management starts with a leader. If you don't have a strong leader, the employees aren't going to know about a lean management system, and the culture does not start. So teaching leaders to live by a TPS or lean philosophy is key to the success of lean management. Develop excellent people and teams. And you also want to respect your suppliers and stakeholders, as they are an extension of the business. Observe and reflect for improvements. You always want to have a continuous improvement mindset. A tool called Gemba, which is where the management is on the floors working with the line workers, and then make educated decisions, but implement changes quickly, and then reflect on the process regularly. So there are some tools about lean where you can improve. The first one is called 5S. This has developed by Toyota, and a lot of it is through a Japanese language, and I'm not going to even attempt to try to speak it, but in the English, it is also 5 S's. So the first one is sorting. You want to remove anything that is not necessary to the process. Number 2 is keeping the facility organized, and it is a term that's set in place. So you got sort, set in place. The third S is shine, so clean or inspect. When you have a clean environment, then you can identify problems and address them before anything becomes an issue. Standardize is the fourth S, and this is making sure things are done the most effective way possible. And no matter where the work is being done, who is doing it, or when, it is always going to be the same. So the last S is sustain. Many companies make improvements and then move on without doing anything to ensure the improvements are sustained over time. The fifth S is making sure that after all your hard work of creating a 5S environment, it's going to stay that way. The Kanban system is the just-in-time system that we have spoken about earlier using the pull method. Another lean tool is Gemba, and this actually means the actual place. This is where management spends time on the production or shop floors where employees are working. And this way they could see what's happening, where problems are, and are able to come up with improvement chances. Kaizen is another lean tool, which is a continuous improvement. It works for large scale or even smaller tasks. It's not just to eliminate waste, but to improve quality. And it starts with the employees. And then as you develop further, it could become a company-wide event. And then the last lean tool is Six Sigma. And this is where the statistics come in play. Six Sigma is described as a process having 3.4 defects per million opportunities. That is the ultimate goal of a company, is to eliminate defects to a 3.4 out of 1 million. So implementing lean manufacturing in a company that already doesn't have it, the first step is you identify your customers and the values. Clearly define the value for the product, then all non-value waste can be identified and eliminated. Second process, identify and map the value stream. Collection of the processes in all areas to create the product. Once you discover what the customer wants, now you discover how you are going to get there. A, those that add value. B, those that do not add value but cannot be currently avoided. C, those that do not add value and should be eliminated. When you can create those value streams, you can create your processes from there. Third, you create flow by eliminating waste, as the 8 wastes we went through earlier. And fourth, work to the customer's pull. Use a just-in-time system to only pull material when it is needed. This is very important to keep a lean company. As orders continue to rise, a lot of companies think these orders are coming in, we can't keep up, let's go full speed ahead. This can become a problem when orders slow down. Now you have excessive inventory, and then your 8 wastes start to build up. So fifth is pursue perfection. Once you get to a lean environment, if you sustain it, then you could just keep continuously improving or do Kaizen events. As a company develops further, you always want to stay one step ahead of your competition. So if you're not continuously improving every day, you're not going to be the competitive one within the industry. So that is all I have for this presentation. I am open for any questions.
Thank you so much, Preston. Great presentation. Do we have any question? I have some comment here. Lean management has a place in several industries, not just manufacturing. There has been lean application in healthcare, and that is true. Lean has gained popularity and acceptance in many places, not just on product or production, rather, I should say, but in processes, and even in service industries as well. Thank you for that comment, Cecily. Any other comment or question, please? Okay, I have a question. I hope I will be quick with this. Preston, thanks for your presentation. Lean is one of those concepts that in certain organizations, the employees tend to resist a little bit. In your own experience, what would you think has been the most effective approach used in implementing Lean and success attained in your own organization?
The resistance is common with implementing Lean. The best way to go about it is starting with that leadership. If the leader creates a positive work environment and is able to encourage the employees and get their input on ways to develop better processes, then the resistance will be lower. If it's just the leader saying, this is how we're going to do it, this is the way we're going to do it, everyone's going to do it that way, then they're going to say no. But if you involve them, then the resistance will be a lot lower.
Yep. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
So without having any other question, I want to say that is the end of this session. And so from me, John Ape, I want to say thank you, especially to the DSA leaders